Turn your phone off. Well, hello, everyone. I'm Adrian Starks, and I'm joined by my wife, Shandi. We're so grateful to have this time with you once again. Thank you for tuning in to talk to me. Um, I am really excited about where we're going tonight in terms of our discussion, because this is something that we've been trying to get uh, released for a little while now, and then we ran into some weather concerns and challenges, and so here we are. Shandi, I'm excited. Are you? I think this is something that you are really looking forward to discussing as well.
Well, yeah, definitely. So thank you all so much for joining us and thank you for your patience. So Adrian, I'll let you get us going.
So we are talking tonight about, is love at first sight real? And that's basically the topic that we're going to deal with. As we've said, this has been something that we have kind of sent out there to a number of people to put feelers out, and the response has been pretty high. Now, there is something taking place in Charlotte that it has hit a few other cities outside of North Carolina, and they're bringing this phenomenon to North Carolina, and it's called Love is Blind.
Mm-hmm.
And there's another premiere that's taking place, right?
Yeah, they're doing Love is Blind Charlotte.
Yeah, so Love is Blind Charlotte. They've done Love is Blind Detroit, Atlanta, and now
And
they're bringing it to Charlotte. And so
oh,
this whole concept is that individuals would
go ahead.
individuals would be paired by professionals, and in the
No, no,
course of
no, you're getting it confused. Okay, so let me help you out, babe, because they're two different shows. Okay, so um I have this little fascination with two shows. I don't watch a lot of TV. I don't watch hardly any. I watch The Voice, and I have watched these two shows. So one is Married at First Sight, the other is Love is Blind. And I said this last week. I was in the dental office and I was kind of persuaded by my dental hygienist. She really wanted to watch the show. So she kept begging me to watch TV while she did my service. But I got kind of intrigued about this show. So I won't go into a lot, but it's on Netflix. And basically, it's a social experiment where they gather men and women and they kind of speed date. But the key to this particular show is that they don't see each other. And so you're speed dating or you're dating multiple people and you never get to see them. And so when you when they finally meet, they get engaged after several days, several weeks of the social experiment. I don't know all the details, but after a while they propose to one another and they have a few weeks to decide if they're going to go through with the marriage, but they get engaged without ever seeing each other. And I'm kind of like a hopeless romantic. Plus, me and my husband had a real unique engagement as well. And if you don't know our story, my husband proposed to me the first day he met me. Okay. He proposed to me the
not
first
first
day.
day, first
Huh?
weekend, the first
First,
weekend.
he told me the first night we met that I was going to be your wife. Oh, okay. And then he proposed 3 days later. So he told me I was going to be his wife. And then he's right. 3 days later, he proposed to me. And we've been on this journey for it'll be 26 years married this year, I think, in a few weeks.
Yeah.
And, And so he thinks that these TV shows, just like Love at First Sight, is just totally produced. But I do think that you can connect with someone fairly quickly, and based on truly getting to know the person can determine if this is someone that's supposed to be your soulmate, especially for those that are faith filled. Okay.
Yeah, I think it is heavily um, reality TV, which I think creates the question about, is it real? Because some people are looking at what's happening on TV and probably developing their assessment about the possibility of it happening for them. Now, of course, we have our story, and our story is unique, um, but our story is real. And so, like you said, we testified that there is a possibility. There is a possibility, but I'll also say our love is rare. Our love is rare. So the question then becomes, can this happen for anybody?
That's a hard question. Can it happen for anybody? I think it's potentially if the person is thinking correctly. And I think we just need to really talk about what marriage and relationships are. Okay. Now, if this probably wouldn't have worked for you and I, the Love is Blind social experiment, because I'm not saying this because of me, but you use your eyes to determine how you feel about something.
No, 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 no. Wait a minute. No, not you said about something, about someone that I'm considering to spend the rest of my life with and to become exclusive and again to grow old with. Absolutely. And I don't think that that's rare amidst men. It is a common appreciation that men are visual while women are emotional.
Mhm.
And that's part of the reason why I believe that show really speaks to women. It speaks to you in a higher volume than it speaks to me, or I think to men. But I still believe that it can happen. But I do not negate the reality that there are a lot of men that will kind of pump their brakes when they understand the dynamics. Because isn't this particular place where you get into a room and you are separated, but you're just talking to each other?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
all right. So you're
Uh,
talking to each other, and you don't know what anyone uh, looks like and what their life, their truths are. And I think that's just a hard sell for a lot of men. But even as I looked at a couple of episodes, there are some women who were saying when they came from behind the wall or came into the mutual space that they were a little disappointed as well.
Well, I get that. I just think that when you are marrying for the right reason,
Uh-huh.
that there's so many more important things. Now, I have to admit that the people on this show, I don't think any of them were really in their 20s. So they were on a mission to find their life mate.
And honestly, honey, the way you just said that is as though it's a not so good thing that they're on a mission. I think that is a positive thing because you have individuals who are coming ready to make commitments.
Exactly. And so I think when you are at that stage, that there's so many more important things than just looks that are important, because you and I know that we look very different from what we did 26 years ago. I know I do,
I
especially
would
today.
agree. I would
Especially,
completely agree. And I
right.
want to say, if you have a comment, you're watching and you have a comment, you can please put it in the chat. My brother Alan Hooker has put in there that men are visual. He was giving me a thumbs up that this is a true statement about men, spoken from another man, from another quarterback, another athlete who I'm sure um, many people would enjoy having conversation with him, but nonetheless, he's being transparent as well. Um,
Yeah, and I agree. And I think I just think it's somewhat unfortunate because and I shared this with Adrian when we were driving and discussing this, that it's unfortunate to know that if I didn't look a certain way, that this powerful union and these five amazing humans that we have created would never have come to pass if I didn't pass your look test. And that's
my
sad.
eye test. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. If I didn't look, if I wasn't desirable to you physically, I think it's a shame that we would have never connected.
I think that there's an opportunity for somebody to look beautiful and there to be no connection mentally, emotionally. I'm not discounting the need to connect in mind and heart, but I still can't take away the reality that there is an eye test that both men and women are are looking for somebody to pass. You're special, babe. I just like the depth that you bring. God provided that depth for me, um, but it's not taking that away. Now, listen, Tanya Smith made a comment earlier that I did not fully grasp, um, and she just made a subsequent comment. She said, "Ooh, I'm with Adrian. I think two people would have to be at very unique stages in their lives to make their determination that early."
We'll see. Absolutely. And I'm looking at Alan's comment here. He says if Adrian didn't pass my intellect test, I wouldn't have given them the light of day. Well, can I be honest? You know, if I had just looked at Adrian surfacely and didn't really ask the right questions and get to know him, I would have totally passed on him because intellectually, I was looking for someone who was probably going to be a CFO or a controller of a company or something like that. And I looked beyond the things that I had on my, because yeah, I had a list. I'm a
And see,
list.
that's the thing. Most women have a actual list. I don't know that men will spend the time to craft a list because you talked to me about this list that you had.
Right.
And as you talked about the list, I don't know that I don't remember me checking any of those boxes.
Correct. You didn't. And so what if I didn't dig deeper because you didn't have the things that were on my list?
Then you had every opportunity to say thanks, but no thanks.
I know that's my point. That's why I think this social experiment is so powerful because it gives you the opportunity to learn more. Because, Adrian, on the surface, you weren't my flavor, you weren't my cup of tea. And I looked so far beyond what I saw and what you presented. And I said this last week, I fell in love with your potential, but it was by me asking the right questions and finding out who you really were. But if we were behind a wall, I think I wouldn't have had the reservations that I had in the first place.
Yeah, because you would have had to create something in your mind based off of a sound. right? So let's talk about that for a little bit. How we would create this image that sets some up for disappointment because what they're hearing may not transfer to the reality, right?
Yeah, it's, I think it even goes beyond that. I think people get married usually for the wrong reason. And I'm so glad Alan is here. Alan, if you could just stay for just another minute. I don't know if you have to run, but I think it's powerful that Alan is here because Alan was Adrian's mentor that was mentoring Adrian. And Alan was at a different place than us spiritually. And I remember the time he sat down with us. We were traveling and he pulled us together and he said, Adrian, what would you do if you came home after traveling? Alan, I don't know if you remember this, but you said, what would you do if you found Shondi in the bed with another man? Would you walk away? And Adrian, you said yes. And
Mm-hmm.
Alex said, well, you don't need to marry her.
Mm-hmm.
He said, you got to look deeper. You got, because if you will walk away because of a mistake
Mm-hmm.
like that,
Mm-hmm.
you don't need to marry her in the first place. Alan, you remember that? I mean, you were like really making us dig deep. And a lot of people don't do that. A
Right.
lot of people get married because of what they think marriage could be. Like Alan was telling us right there, you this ain't a fairy tale because we had a fairy tale beginning. And most people think marriage is fairy tale. Alan, I know you like the star too. Let me just say that. Um, I just saw it. But so many people get married for the wrong reasons. They think it's going to be a happily ever after. And he was telling us right there, it might not be that, but you're going to have some tough times that you're going to have to make a decision. Can I stick with them when they are down, when the chips are down? And
Absolutely.
and too many of us make decisions based on the emotional, like, oh, I love, it's the way he makes me feel. I see us doing this, building a house together and having this, that, and the other. And I'm not saying had it all together, but I knew that you could become the man that I wanted to marry. And how did I know that? Because I tested you. I asked you all the questions and you passed most of the tests. And then we had people like Alan telling us, okay, it might not be perfect all the time, but you're marrying for commitment. This is it's about God putting you together and not you just getting your needs met.
Absolutely. And remember, our topic is love at first sight. Is it for real? So what you just described is going deeper. And
Mm-hmm,
without question, there is a need to go deeper, to search out a thing. And
mm-hmm,
so the love at first sight is the attraction, it is the appeal, it is probably accurately stated to be highly emotional or sensual.
mm-hmm,
But still, after you get beyond the initial view that you may fall in love with, or the initial sound, however you want to put it, that you may fall in love with, you're going to have to vet the situation. You're going to have to vet the person as you just described. So let's talk about the encounter that you had with the Southeast Asian mother.
yeah. So last year I was on a field trip and I was talking to a Southeast Asian mother. And because I just love culture. So I asked her if I had permission to ask her questions about her culture. And I said, "Did you happen to have an arranged marriage?" Because I had been watching the show. And I said, "Because I want to know how that works." And she said, "Yes, definitely. It's still very prominent in our culture, not as much as it used to be, but it's still very common." And I said, "Tell me so I said, tell me how it happened." So she gave me the details. And I said, "And what would happen if, when you all got to the married, to the altar, it's not an altar for them, but if you weren't feeling it for them, what would you do?" And she just goes, "You silly American." That's basically what she said. She said, "See, you all don't get it. We don't marry for love and lust. We marry for legacy." And something in my shanana said, "Oh," because I love the answer. She said, now, not all aspects of it, but she said, "That's why you never see women in my culture divorcing, because we don't marry for lust or love. So we don't say little silly things like you do." And she was being very respectful, but she said, "It's no, well, I just don't love him anymore. He doesn't do it for me anymore." She said, "Because we marry for legacy. My parents came together and we were looking for one who was going to elevate us." Come on, somebody. Somebody, 'cause she said we grew up in poverty. So we were looking for someone who was going to take us to the next class, because family is real important. So as I married up, my whole family married up. And my husband's family was looking for someone who was educated. She said, and even though we were in poverty, I had a master's degree. And so they were looking for someone who was highly intellectual. And they made decisions based on what type of family and legacy they wanted to create. So they arranged marriages for elevation.
So what we're trying to present is that love at first sight very well may be something that you have experienced, but love at first sight doesn't necessarily have to lead to marriage.
It's
And-
not enough, is my point.
right.
Love at first sight, love, the emotions, the feeling. Because Adrian, how many times has the feeling gone from me?
From you or from me?
Your feelings for me didn't feel like Adrian fell for me hard. I'm gonna be honest. Like, his boys were like, "What the heck did you do to him?" But it didn't stay that way, did it, babe?
No, because life ain't been no crystal stair. And because that be the case, sometimes you don't feel like being married, or you don't feel like being with a particular person, but that does not overrule the commitment that you've made to each other. And that's just real. And I think that's what this young lady was trying to communicate to you, that their idea of marriage is based upon building something together and not necessarily feeling something together.
hmm Yeah, and so especially for those of us that are in the Christian faith, we need to really ask these types of questions. I wish we could do it all over again. I was just talking to my daughter about this. You need to ask God, well, what, God, do you have in mind for us? Like, what is the reason why you're bringing us together? Because it's not just for our fulfillment. If we are blessed, I believe anything God calls us to do, we're going to get joy and satisfaction and fulfillment from it. But that's not the reason why you marry someone. You marry someone And I'm not saying we did this. We didn't have this all together, but this is what made us stay together when we did fall out of love in life. We had our
I
moments.
never fell out of love with you. I fell out of like with you, but I've not fallen out of love with you. And
Well,
my
well, when I
love is
say
built,
fall,
but my love is built on something that's stronger than an ephemeral, which or fleeting emotion.
when I'm saying fall out of love, I know you've always loved me, but there were times where we did not love being married to one another.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's normal, I think.
Right.
But the times that I did start thinking like, God, could I do better by myself? And you all, it's not a lot of those times, okay? Be honest, but there was a severe one, right?
Right.
And I had someone tell me, if you weren't together, what is that? She said, what is that going to do to the body of Christ? What would that do to your kids and to your church family? And you all, I got myself all the way together because it wasn't about, I started letting my emotions and the way I was feeling get in the way. And love ain't you think it's a feeling, but that's not what it's about. It's about a commitment, it's about the purpose for which God brought you together. So that arranged marriage thing, it to me, it made a lot of sense. And it was really interesting because I was like, so have you all fallen? Now I thought this was sad, but this is what I think is different about our faith. Because I said, so do you feel it for him now? Like, and she was like, uh-uh. But it's the best thing for our family.
Yeah. See, now
But
I don't know. I don't know that
yeah, I didn't like it.
is the type of arrangement that I would thrive in. To
Right.
know that I'm being tolerated and not necessarily being um, appreciated for who the Creator has made me to be.
Yeah, that's the piece I couldn't flow with because I love the fact that the person that God had created for me from the foundation of the earth before I was even put in in my mother's womb, that the person that he had for me, that I absolutely adore him.
Right. Well, what you're talking about, a time down the line where uh, children are born, careers are established, homes are purchased, and we're still saying, "Oh no, no, ooh, no, I can't." That just kind of it unsettles me to think that that can be the reality.
Yeah. But I love what Tanya just said because she said love is a decision, and that's a book. And remember, we read that a long time. We read that probably within the first couple of years of our marriage, and it helped.
Right,
And it was so true because it's saying whether you feel it or not, you make a decision to love this person as Christ loves this person because it glorifies God. And I believe when we are in his purpose and his this is his divine plan, when we are doing those things as unto the Lord, that we're going to get, I always say for God's glory and our good.
right. So now that decision is made off of some data. That decision is made off of some data. I got to keep bringing us back to the reality that it was based upon some data. All right. And and you talk about having a list, and another person said that men have a list too. I didn't say, I don't want to present that I didn't have variables or aspects that I was wanting, right?
Right.
And when you gave the example of this cultural paradigm of arranged marriages, they talked about data. You've got to have certain elements that you're bringing to the table and certain qualities that they use to make that decision. But once the decision is made, they are in covenant.
Yes.
They're in covenant, and that's real. That's real. And so I think as we try to bring this plane into the hangar, it's important for us to appreciate the fact that you may fall in love um, at first sight, but you should be going and investigating and seeing if this individual who you were attracted to, you were drawn to so quickly, really possesses those aspects that would align with who you are and where you're headed. And see, that's what it was about me, about you for me, Shonda.
Hmm.
I saw that because again, you answered the door the way you did with a
My
do
natural beauty. My natural beauty. Go
okay,
ahead.
you were all in your natural beauty. Yeah. She
Adrian,
wasn't club ready, is what she's saying.
but I became club ready, so you saw my potential very quickly.
No. I wanted to just balance the statement out because
Okay.
you just made this matter of fact. You asked, can I be honest? I don't want you to think that I didn't have a perspective as well with respect to that. But it's when we come together. I think the two cultures are similar in a lot of ways. They may not be identical. And where they don't align, it's significant. I would agree, because in America we tend to be driven by emotion and feeling. In the South Asian um, community, they're being driven not by appearance, they're being driven by potential.
Right. And so, quickly before we end, what are some of the things that if when we counsel our children, what are some of the things we should be telling them to investigate?
To know where the person stands in terms of their values.
Uh-huh.
So you want to uh, investigate values.
Mhm.
You want to investigate um, their
Okay,
family.
honey, okay, you tell from the male, and then let me share like some of the things from a women's perspective.
I still hold on to values. You get struggling with values.
No, no, no.
Okay.
I agree. I think that's for both of them. But let let me just I want us to go a little bit deeper real quickly. Like, is this person going to be a good provider for me and my family? Now, I wanted a certain income level, right? Because that
Hmm.
was kind of shallow. I didn't have it all together. I still don't. But I wanted someone who was already there.
Hmm.
But what I saw is your willingness to do what it took. And when I started asking you questions like, yeah, I'm very straightforward. I'm like, well, how much money do you make? Okay. Because he already had a home. And I was like, so what are you bringing to the table? I did it in a respectful way, didn't I, honey?
Yeah, I'm not easily offended either. So
Well, yeah,
it all worked together for good.
that was the other thing that you didn't care. You didn't think I was a gold digger. You were like, okay, I see what's important to her. And because you saw what was important to me, because it was all about security, because that's
And that's what I
typically
understood it to be. See,
right.
because you have to understand, I had some prior experience to you. And there were some people that I had dated that didn't have their list together. They didn't have a desire to do life at a higher level. And I
Right.
never articulated this stuff to you. I just let you talk. And you answered questions for me based off of what I knew I needed. And so it didn't bother me. See, because I really believe that when you let people talk, they're going to tell you what you need to know.
True. True. You know what else that I found, and this is what I think should be at the top of the list for women, is that what the man does not know, that he is willing to be taught or coachable. And Adrian, that's what I loved about you. You were like, oh, this is important to you. Well, shoot, let me go learn it.
Right.
Let me go ask some questions instead of like, shoot, I ain't gonna, like you ain't gonna tell me what to do. And it wasn't telling you what to do. It was saying, well, the person that I need is gonna have to know how to provide. Because I was very honest. I said, because I don't want to work the rest of my life. I really want to be at home with my kids. That's one of my priorities. And you love that. You're like, oh, I can get with that. And so you were willing to go find 2 and 3 jobs. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, we good. Because he doesn't know how to do it, but he's gonna make a way. And so you need to make sure that the man's gonna be able to provide for you, to be secure, to be able to have vision. Like, even though I was definitely more established, I didn't want to keep it that way. I didn't want to run the thing. I wanted you to run it.
Right.
And I needed to know that you could do that.
Right.
And then when I tried to kind of test you in it, you put me in my place, and I love that, because I didn't want somebody that I could run over.
Right.
And I saw you were like, ho, ho, ho. I might not know it, but you let me tell you something, little Missy. And I love that because you were in control.
Right.
And so the things that are important to you, you need to ask those questions and kind of test it, because you might get over the physical very quickly. Okay, Adrian, so what are some of the things that men should probably ask, investigate?
Well, I think it's important, as I said, to know the values, to understand what are the desires and the aspirations of the woman. It's important that to know, if I find someone, as I had in times past, who has no aspirations, who has no desire, no go get them, no get up and go, then if that's not congruent with who you are, then you've got to know that you're setting yourself up to be highly frustrated. And when you, even though you said you wanted to be at home, you talked about industry. You were like that Proverbs 31 woman who was industrious. Okay. And so that mattered to me. That
Right.
spoke volumes to me. And again, you weren't just talking. At the time, you were studying for your CPA. So if you can get your CPA, I already know that when it's time for us to roll up our sleeves, that
Mm-hmm.
you can really get down to the gritty.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, what I believe you want to find is someone who's going to work with you and complement you. The Bible says, he that finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor. But it's not good that man would be alone, because I'm going to send him a helper. So does that woman have the capacity to help you and to propel you into where you are supposed to be leading the family toward?
Yes. Yes.
That is a critical consideration.
Yes. I love it. I love it.
So it's time that we wrap it up. Give a final thought, Shonda, and then we'll conclude.
Well, I can't get enough of Tanya's comment where she said love is a decision. And it's a very important decision that you make up front. And it's just so funny that Alan is on here because he put some things on the table. You have to, he put some really challenging scenarios before us and said, um, are you going to stick with each other if this happened and if that happened? And it was really challenging. It made me think. And so when you make these decisions, you have to um, get beyond how you feel and start looking at why would God put the two of us together? And what is it that we are to accomplish together? Do I see this person not only as um, my lover, the one who does it for me, but one that I'm going to ride or die with for until we get this thing done. And, I would say me and Adrian, we were not completely, totally yoked, but both of us had a desire to be all that God wanted us to be. And that was um, from day one. We were going to help each other, not compete against one another, but really be teammates to make us better. And I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that I would not be the person that I am today without this man, and vice versa.
My
He would
final
be
word,
a hot mess without me. Okay.
according to your mother, absolutely. She's let that be known, and I just absolutely love it. My final word will consist of two main elements, and the first part is, and I speak this to both parties, but especially to the male, to find mentorship, um, and to have appreciation for the imparting the contribution of that mentor with respect to this love that you have, because what you've been reiterating about Alan is that he was a mentor in my life that helped me where I needed to be propped up to consider some things that I may not have been equipped to conjure up on my own, but he helped me. So there's the second thing. We
and
all have
he and he and Wendy together were something that we could put our eyes upon and see together. This is the model.
no question about it.
And I think that, so thank you for saying that, honey, because I
But
think
but
that
look,
is so important because it would, where some people say, what would Jesus do? We would say, it was kind of like, what would Wendy and Alan do in this situation? And you need those people in your life. Okay, and I'm quiet.
no, you're not.
I
And
am.
and and that's the scary part. The amazing thing is that that is exactly true. And here, watch this. We share the same anniversary.
Yes.
November 30th is both of our anniversaries. I believe that that is not coincidence. I believe it is divine providence. And I
Yeah.
also believe that it was providential for me to wed you. And we didn't talk about this, but it was providential. While I was ready, I was no longer desirous to be unwed. When I went in the direction of where you were, I was not looking consciously for you. And God revealed you to me. And I can't overstate that, but I don't have time to deal with it now, but you all need to be able to hear. Notice I said get a mentor and listen to the mentor, but understand that there's a spiritual ear that even the unrighteous man has. You've got to
Yes.
learn how to listen to your inner voice, your spirit man, as the spirit speaks to your spirit man. And finally appreciate that we all have a blind spot, meaning that we don't see everything in its entirety.
Mhm.
Because you don't have eyes in the back of your head, there's something always that you're not seeing.
Mhm.
You may have peripheral vision, which means your ability to see to the side. There's something that is taking place that you only are going to see a portion of. When you look straight ahead, that's the clearest you can see. But something is happening on the side and something is happening behind, which means that there's always a slanted viewpoint that you will have. Having somebody else's counsel on this will help you in the long run. Why? Shondi had counsel. Our dear friend, Andrea, is who gave her perspective that she didn't have when I was pouring out all of this swag. I mean, I'm just dropping line on top of line, and she is cautiously hearing me. He's like, I hear this joker he's a slickster. And Andrea was hearing me differently than Shondi was hearing me. Andrea was seeing me from a different angle than Shondi was looking at me.
She was my Allen.
She was. And
Mhm.
it was because of Andrea's persuasion for you to take down the guard and to hear more closely
Mhm.
that we were able to move forward. And so that's what I would offer every last one of us.
That's good. Be careful who you're around. I mean, because if she was a hater, if she was a hater, and if she was a hater, because she wasn't married, but if she was not out for my best interest, she could have said, he gonna bust up the Shondi Andrea show. And she didn't. So that's good, babe. You need the right people around you that can give you some wise counsel and stop listening to the jokers.
Absolutely. And if you don't have a mentor, open your life to mentorship.
Yes.
Open your life to mentorship. A lot of us don't have a mentor because we are closed off. We're too prideful. We know everything.
Mm-hmm.
We're too haughty, right? But I'm telling you, mentorship matters. It will help bring blessing into your life. It'll help keep confusion out of your life. And we need it because we have a blind spot, every last one of us. All right.
Amen.
I hope that this has been good for you. I hope that something has been said to help you gain perspective about love at first sight. It is real. You're looking at love at first sight tonight in Shondi and me, but know that you still have some steps to take along the way before you get to that glorious, glorious day of I do. Um, and I hope that this is something that you can carry with you long after we've adjourned. Listen, we are going to be here every Tuesday at 7 o'clock for Talk to Me. Next week, we'll have something else that we're going to talk about. But I hope that you'll tune back in. To all of our people who made comments, thank you so much, especially to my brother, my friend, Alan Hooker. We love you, man. And we'll see you on Rocky Top soon.
All right. God bless you. Good night, everyone.
Bye now.